You need a 7-seater crossover SUV that is spacious enough for a large family, reliable, affordable to buy and maintain, and one that also has a good ground clearance. Mostly the first option that will quickly come to mind is the well-known Toyota Vanguard, which sells like hotcake. Another option that many people tend to overlook is the Mitsubishi Outlander, which also comes with a 7-seat configuration. It's also a good option, but it doesn't sell as well as the Toyota Vanguard. In this particular episode, we are going to dissect both SUVs. We will compare their specifications and also try to look at their strengths and weaknesses. Then lastly, we will find out which one between these two SUVs would make the best choice. So this is going to be an in-depth comparison review, and it may be important to stick around up to the end of the video, especially if you are considering either of these SUVs. So please stay tuned and welcome to IK Photo Reviews. Also, please do consider subscribing to the channel if you find this content helpful. That is one of the ways in which you can support the channel, and I'll be very grateful. So the Toyota Vanguard was in production from 2007 up to 2013, and as most of you already know, the Vanguard is basically a RAV4 with a slightly different look. The main reason why it has been selling so well is because of its excellent reliability and good resale value. The Mitsubishi Outlander that we will be taking a look at is the third generation that was in production from 2012 up until 2021. So let's begin with the prices of these crossovers, and bear in mind that we are taking a look at the 2013 models. So a 2013 Vanguard will set you back between 1.85 to around 3.4 million shillings depending on the mileage, condition and trim level. It's a crossover SUV that is a bit overpriced. For a top of the range 2013 model to cost as much as 3.4 million, it's a bit expensive, even though it may be the high spec model. But still, generally it's overrated because compared to its competitors, it doesn't offer all that much apart from outstanding reliability and good resale value. That said, there are more affordable options like models from 2008 to around 2011. Those are the ones which have been used locally, but you can still get some which are in very good condition at a reasonable price. The Mitsubishi Outlander, on the other hand, costs between 1.95 to around 2.4 million shillings. That is the 2013 model. 2014 and 2015 models are more expensive, going for roughly around 2.5, 2.8 and some even over 3 million shillings depending on the trim level and mileage. Will I say it offers more value for money compared to the Vanguard? We will find out as we continue with the comparison, so please stay tuned. Moving on to the engine options, the Vanguard has a 2400cc 4-cylinder petrol engine that comes coupled to a CVT gearbox, and it's available in either 2 or all-wheel drive. There's also a 3500cc V6 petrol engine that comes coupled to a 5-speed automatic gearbox, and again it's available in either 2 or all-wheel drive. These engines are extremely reliable. The 2.4 is decent enough in terms of power. It manages long distances quite well, but with 7 passengers and cargo in the boot, you may tend to feel as if the engine is straining, especially if you are driving up a steep hill or incline. The 3500cc V6 is something else. Packing around 280 horsepower, it's very powerful. It will overtake in no time, but the fuel consumption will be discouraging, and that's the main reason why most people avoid this particular engine option. The Outlander has 3 engine options. There's a 2000cc 4-cylinder naturally aspirated petrol engine that only comes as a 2-wheel drive, and it can come coupled to either a 5 or 6-speed manual or a CVT gearbox. Then there's a 2400cc petrol engine that also comes coupled to a CVT or 5 or 6-speed manual gearbox, but it's available in selectable 4-wheel drive, so you can switch between 2 or 4-wheel drive. Lastly, there's a 2000cc plug-in hybrid electric vehicle, which is a complicated option. This powertrain combines several components. There are 2 electric motors, a battery pack, a generator, a transaxle, and the 2000cc engine. This particular powertrain is only available in full-time four-wheel drive. PHEV stands for plug-in hybrid electric vehicle, meaning this is a hybrid SUV that needs to be plugged in for charging. It's different from the other hybrids that we are used to in the Kenyan market, such as the Toyota Harrier hybrid, which is ideally a self-charging hybrid. Now, this plug-in hybrid has three drive modes. The first one is EV mode. In this particular mode, the car will only be driven by the two electric motors, which can drive the car up to a mileage of around 55 kilometers. Remember, the electric motors are powered by the hybrid batteries. So if your daily commutes are around 40 or 50 kilometers, then this car will enable you to save so much fuel, because on EV mode, it doesn't consume any petrol. But on the flip side, you will have to pay for electricity to charge it up almost every day once you get home. Something else is that, being that in this country there are very few public EV charging stations, you may be forced to invest in a charging unit at your home, which may not be very affordable. The other driving mode is series mode, and here the generator, which is powered by the engine, is engaged to help power the electric motors, especially during sudden acceleration or when the hybrid batteries are low on power. The last driving mode is parallel mode, whereby the engine and electric motors join forces to drive the car, and this often occurs when more power is needed. Now, what happens, for example, if you are going on a long journey and the battery pack gets depleted along the way? You will still be able to keep driving, but it's only the engine alone that will be powering the SUV. But now it will not be fuel efficient because the electric motors will not be assisting the engine. So you can just see how complicated this plug-in hybrid is. In fact, it's heavier than the normal self-charging hybrid because it has a bigger battery pack. So would I advise you to get the plug-in hybrid? No, I would not. If you want a Mitsubishi Outlander plug-in hybrid, then you're better off in something like a Toyota Harrier hybrid. Toyotas have perfected their hybrid technology. The reason I would not recommend this Outlander plug-in hybrid is because you will need to invest in a charging unit at your home, and you will have to charge it maybe every day depending on your daily usage of the car. Secondly, it's a very complicated setup, and if anything goes wrong, it will be very expensive to do the repairs. Something else to keep in mind is that the battery pack in this Outlander hybrid lasts between 8 to 10 years, so that's a short time considering you are buying it used. Compare that to a Toyota or Honda hybrid, whose hybrid battery can last up between 10 to around 15 years depending on the usage. That's why you'll hear people say that in terms of hybrid technology, Toyota and Honda are better. They have perfected their technology. So in short, just get a self-charging hybrid. It's a better choice, at least currently, for the Kenyan market and many other African countries. Now, the 2000cc two-wheel drive non-hybrid is just fine for both short and long journeys, but you will definitely feel that that engine is underpowered because, for one, this is a heavy SUV, and the moment you have passengers on board, that engine will struggle to go up steep hills or overtake. The 2400cc is better in terms of power, so it's the engine option that I would recommend. As for fuel consumption, the 2400cc in the Toyota Vanguard can get around 12 km per liter, depending on how you drive. The 3500cc V6, on the other hand, can get around 9 km per liter or less, again depending on your driving style, as well as how heavy the traffic is. The 2000cc in the Outlander can get around 14.5 km per liter, the 2400cc around 13 km per liter, and lastly the 2000cc plug-in hybrid around 18 km per liter. But you can get even better or worse than this depending on the driving mode. For example, as I said earlier, if you just drive on EV mode alone, then you will save so much fuel, but if the battery pack is depleted, then the engine will do all the work and it will give around 11 km per liter. Because it's such a heavy SUV due to the battery pack and the other components. It's also important to note that all the models of the Outlander have the auto stop and go feature to aid in fuel savings. So once you come to a stop in a traffic jam, the engine will switch off. Then once you press the accelerator, the engine will automatically come back to life. Both SUVs have a 60-liter fuel tank as well as front ventilated disc brakes and solid discs at the back. The ground clearance on the Vanguard measures in at around 190 millimeters, which is very decent and well above the recommended 165 millimeters. So you will never have to worry about not being able to go over severe bumps. The Outlander is even better. It measures in at around 216 millimeters. In fact, with such clearance, you can even be able to take this SUV out on some mild off-roading. That 216 millimeters is for the 9 Hybrid. The Hybrid has a slightly lower clearance of around 185 millimeters, and that is partly due to the weight of all those hybrid components as well as for aerodynamics. The carb weight of the Vanguard ranges between 1530 to 1560 kgs, that is for variants with the 2400cc, while variants with the 3.5 V6 are heavier, weighing in between 1660 to 1700 kgs. The Outlander, on the other hand, weighs in between 1395 to 1820 kgs. The plug-in hybrid is the heaviest due to the battery pack and other components such as the 2 electric motors. Lastly, some of the extra features you can get in both SUVs include cruise control, a navigation system, electric seats, sunroof, keyless entry and go, and 18-inch alloys. So with all that said, let's quickly take a look at the exterior and interior designs of these two SUVs. Do let me know in the comment section which one you would prefer in terms of looks. In my opinion, I would say both SUVs look decent. They are not striking in any way, they are just simple and basic but in a mature way. These are designs that will definitely age well with time. If I was to choose one based on the exterior design, I would go with the Toyota Vanguard, especially the ones that have a spare wheel at the tailgate and also wheel arch extensions. They tend to look more robust and masculine. Moving on into the interior, I think the Outlander is better. Yes, it looks a bit plain, just like in the Vanguard, but the layout of the dashboard is well executed and looks slightly better than in the Vanguard. Even the quality of materials feels slightly better than the Vanguards. Space-wise, they are almost at par. At the front and second rows, there is very good space for even tall people to get comfortable on a long journey. The only problem is the third row of seats, which should mostly be left for youngsters. Going by the figures, the Outlander is longer and also has a slightly longer wheelbase, which means its interior should be slightly more spacious than the Vanguards. In terms of the boot, they both offer very good space with the third row of seats folded into the floor, but once they are unfolded, the space is very small. In fact, you can only fit maybe a medium-sized suitcase and a few other very small items. If you need even more space, then you can as well fold down the second row of seats to create a very large storage area. So in terms of practicality, both SUVs are very spacious and comfortable enough. Something minor to take note of is that the Outlander's boot opens upwards while the Vanguard's boot opens sideways. I don't think it's such a deal breaker. Mostly boots that open sideways may be a bit of a challenge to open in tight parking areas, but aside from that, there's really no major disadvantage. So now, which SUV should you go for? Let's first take a look at each SUV's strong points as well as weaknesses, beginning with the Toyota Vanguard. This crossover has a very impressive resale value. Yes, resale value largely depends on how you maintain a vehicle, but the Vanguard is almost slightly overrated. So its asking price is quite high even for the ones that have been locally used. Secondly, it's extremely reliable. In fact, there is nothing much that goes wrong with these vehicles. They are very well made, simple and durable cars that can really last a long time. The third strong point is the ease of maintenance. Most of the spare parts are shared across the board with other Toyotas such as the Toyota Harrier, so you will never have trouble finding spare parts. It's also very practical, and lastly there's the option of a way more powerful and fun to drive engine, the 3500cc V6 with the 5-speed automatic. So if you need more power, then this is the engine to go for. On to the disadvantages. In fact, it's only one, and it has to do with the price, which is a bit on the steep side, and this is largely due to the overrating. It's an SUV that has really received a lot of praise, and yes, it's a good car, but it has been slightly overpriced, and that's why it has a high asking price. The Outlander is more engaging to drive, and that's its first strong point. This SUV handles better than the Vanguard. It feels more responsive and agile. It almost tends to be a bit more sporty than the Vanguard. Secondly, it has a very reputable four-wheel drive system. It's one crossover that you can take out on some not so good roads and it will handle decently. Yes, it's not as tough as the Prados and Pajeros, but it can do a very decent job off-road. The next strong point is value for money. It offers good value for money compared to the Vanguard. For example, with around 2.4 million shillings, you can get a 2013 Outlander or even a Vanguard with the same amount. But the Outlander will offer slightly more in terms of driving dynamics, ground clearance, features, and even the reputable four-wheel drive. Another strong point is the already mentioned good ground clearance. The last strong point is safety. Higher trim levels of this SUV can come with active driver assist safety features such as lane departure alert, front collision mitigation that will automatically apply the brakes if the system detects that you are going to crash into something, and also adaptive cruise control. So if you want a safe SUV for your family, then this is it. On to the weak points. The first one is that at around over 150,000 kilometers, there may be issues with the CVT gearbox, in that you may notice some delays or hesitation. You put the gear selector to drive, then press the accelerator, but the car delays before it starts moving. This is an issue that has been reported by some owners. At times it can lead to more complex issues, but at times it can just be a delay and nothing more, and the car can just stay for a long time without any issues. Another issue is the AC, which can at times fail. Then there have also been reports of the alternator failing. Lastly, the plug-in hybrid is not a very suitable option, as I had said earlier, because it's very complex, it's very heavy due to the many components, and it also requires the owner to invest in a charging unit at home because of the very few public EV charging units in the country. So if you really want a hybrid, the best bet is a self-charging hybrid, not a plug-in hybrid. At least not now, but maybe in the future it may be a good alternative once much investment is done to make these plug-in hybrids easier and cheaper to live with. Now, if you prefer reliability and good resale value, then the Vanguard is your best bet. If you want something different and not so common, something that also drives well, then get the Mitsubishi Outlander with the 2400cc engine. But to give a direct answer, my recommendation would be the Toyota Vanguard. This is one SUV that is very easy to live with, it's super reliable, and finding the spare parts is easy. Finding some of the Outlander's spare parts may be a bit difficult, and they may also be slightly expensive. Yes, the Vanguard is very common and it may be slightly overpriced, but it will certainly give you peace of mind. If you want to pay a reasonable amount, then get the earlier models like the 2010, 2011 models. They are slightly more affordable. You can get them with under 2 million shillings. When you are looking for a 7-seater family SUV, the most important aspects to consider are ease of maintenance, reliability, durability, fuel consumption, maybe also resale value, and these are some of the reasons why I would recommend the Vanguard. Aspects such as driving dynamics may not be very important. That said, the Outlander is also a very good option. It drives well, has good four-wheel drive capabilities, and offers good value for money. Do let me know which one between these two SUVs you will go for. I hope this has been helpful. Thanks a lot for watching. Please consider subscribing to the channel for more informative content on cars as well as bikes. If you have any enquiries, feel free to reach me via WhatsApp or email. That's it for this particular episode. Stay safe. See you in the next one.